Maria Santos pushed her cleaning cart down the polished hallway of the elite military training facility. The wheels squeaked softly against the marble floor as she made her way past trophy cases filled with medals and photographs of legendary snipers. Her worn uniform and weathered hands told the story of 20 years spent cleaning these halls, invisible to the soldiers who walked past her every day. The morning sun streamed through tall windows as Maria began her routine. She had memorized every corner of this place, every statue, every plaque commemorating heroes whose names would be remembered forever. Meanwhile, her own name appeared only on a time card and a paycheck that barely covered her small apartment rent. Colonel Harrison emerged from his office, adjusting his crisp uniform. He barely glanced at Maria as she dusted the frames containing pictures of elite snipers. To him, she was just part of the furniture, someone who appeared and disappeared without consequence. The other soldiers followed his lead, stepping around her as if she were invisible. Maria had grown used to the treatment. She kept her head down and focused on her work, wiping away fingerprints from glass cases that held some of the world's most advanced sniper rifles. Her fingers moved carefully around the displays, knowing each weapon's specifications better than most of the trainees who came through these halls. During her lunch break, Maria sat alone in the small staff room adjacent to the main cafeteria. Through the thin wall, she could hear the soldiers discussing their latest training exercises. Lieutenant Jackson was bragging about his performance on the 1,500-meter range, while Sergeant Thompson complained about the difficulty of the 2,000-meter targets. Maria smiled quietly to herself as she unwrapped her simple sandwich. If only they knew that she had been listening to these conversations for 2 decades. If only they understood how much she had absorbed about wind calculations, bullet drop, and target acquisition just from cleaning around their training sessions and briefings. The afternoon brought a special visitor to the facility. Captain Elena Rodriguez, a renowned sniper instructor from the Mountain Warfare Division, arrived to evaluate potential candidates for an advanced program. Her reputation preceded her. She was known for her exceptional skills at extreme long-range shots and her ability to spot talent in unlikely places. As Captain Rodriguez toured the facility with Colonel Harrison, Maria continued her cleaning duties nearby. She overheard them discussing the upcoming selection process for a highly classified mountain warfare unit. The conversation revealed that they were searching for individuals capable of making shots at distances exceeding 3,000 meters under extreme conditions. That evening, Maria returned to her modest apartment above a small grocery store. The walls were bare, except for a single framed photograph of her younger brother Miguel in military uniform. Miguel had been a sniper in the Special Forces before his death in a training accident 15 years ago. He had taught Maria everything he knew about shooting during their childhood on their grandfather's farm. Maria opened a locked wooden box hidden beneath her bed. Inside lay Miguel's personal effects, including his training manuals, range calculations, and most importantly, his detailed journal documenting advanced sniper techniques. She had kept these items safe for years, studying them in secret and practicing his mathematical formulas for wind drift and trajectory calculation. The next morning brought unexpected drama to the facility. News had spread that the military was organizing a demonstration for visiting dignitaries from allied nations. The event would showcase the elite sniper program's capabilities, with marksmen attempting shots at various distances to impress the international observers. Maria arrived early as usual, but the atmosphere felt different. Soldiers moved with extra purpose, preparing for the demonstration that would take place on the facility's most challenging range. She watched as they set up equipment and tested communication systems for the event scheduled for the following week. As she cleaned the briefing room, Maria overheard Colonel Harrison speaking with his subordinates about their concerns. Their best marksman had been injured in a training accident the previous day, and they were short one sniper for the demonstration. The missing shooter was supposed to attempt the facility's most difficult challenge, a 4,000-meter shot that had never been successfully completed by any soldier at this base. The colonel's frustration was evident as he discussed alternatives with his staff. The international observers expected to see this legendary shot attempted, but none of the remaining marksmen had the experience or confidence to try it. The facility's reputation was at stake, and Colonel Harrison knew that failure would reflect poorly on his leadership. During her afternoon rounds, Maria encountered Captain Rodriguez examining the 4,000-meter range through binoculars. The target seemed impossibly distant, barely visible even with optical enhancement. The captain appeared to be calculating wind patterns and elevation adjustments, making notes in a small notebook. Maria approached quietly, pretending to clean nearby windows while actually listening to Captain Rodriguez's muttered calculations. The numbers being discussed matched formulas she had studied in Miguel's journals. She recognized the complexity of the shot and understood why it had never been completed successfully. As the day ended, Maria overheard a heated discussion between Colonel Harrison and Captain Rodriguez. The colonel was considering canceling the 4,000-meter demonstration rather than risk failure in front of the international visitors. Captain Rodriguez argued that canceling would send the wrong message about their program's capabilities. The conversation revealed something interesting. Captain Rodriguez mentioned that she had observed someone moving around the facility who seemed to understand the technical aspects of long-range shooting. She had noticed small details, how this person positioned themselves relative to wind patterns, how they seemed to instinctively calculate angles and distances. Colonel Harrison dismissed the observation, assuming Captain Rodriguez was referring to one of the trainee soldiers. However, Maria realized that the captain might have been watching her during her cleaning rounds. The possibility that someone had noticed her knowledge both excited and terrified her. That night, Maria studied Miguel's journal more intensely than ever before. She traced his calculations for extreme distance shots, understanding the mathematical precision required for a 4,000-meter target. The journal contained detailed notes about atmospheric conditions, Coriolis effects, and the psychological pressure of attempting seemingly impossible shots. Miguel's final entry mentioned a conversation with their grandfather about the true nature of exceptional marksmanship. He wrote that the best snipers were not necessarily those with the most training or the fanciest equipment, but those who combined technical knowledge with intuitive understanding of their environment. As Maria read these words, she felt a strange connection to her past. Growing up on the farm, she had demonstrated remarkable accuracy with her grandfather's old hunting rifle. Miguel had often commented on her natural ability, saying she had better instincts than many professional soldiers he knew. The following morning brought news that sent shockwaves through the facility. The international demonstration had been moved up by several days due to scheduling conflicts. Colonel Harrison now had less than 48 hours to find a replacement sniper for the 4,000-meter shot, or else face the embarrassment of canceling this portion of the demonstration. Maria watched as panic spread through the ranks. She saw seasoned soldiers shaking their heads when asked if they were willing to attempt the shot. The mathematical precision required, combined with the pressure of performing for international observers, made the challenge almost unbearable for even the most experienced marksman. During her lunch break, Maria made a decision that would change everything. She approached Captain Rodriguez, who was sitting alone in the officers' dining area, still studying range calculations and weather data. With her heart pounding, Maria asked if she could speak privately about the upcoming demonstration. Captain Rodriguez looked up, surprised to be addressed by the cleaning woman. However, something in Maria's eyes suggested this was not a casual conversation. She agreed to listen, curious about what this seemingly invisible employee might have to say about military matters. Maria began by mentioning her brother Miguel and his service as a Special Forces sniper. She explained how she had grown up learning about marksmanship and had spent years studying advanced shooting techniques. Captain Rodriguez listened with growing interest as Maria demonstrated her knowledge of wind calculations and trajectory mathematics. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Maria mentioned specific details about the 4,000-meter range that she had observed during her cleaning duties. She described wind patterns, elevation factors, and optimal timing for the shot with an accuracy that impressed the experienced captain. It became clear that this woman possessed genuine understanding of advanced sniper techniques. Captain Rodriguez asked Maria directly if she was suggesting what it seemed like she was suggesting. Maria took a deep breath and admitted that she believed she could successfully complete the 4,000-meter shot. She explained that while she lacked official military training, she had the knowledge and instincts necessary to make the attempt. The captain's initial reaction was skepticism mixed with curiosity. She asked Maria to prove her knowledge by solving complex ballistic equations without using written references. Maria's accurate responses to these technical challenges began to shift Captain Rodriguez's perspective on this unexpected conversation. As their discussion continued, Captain Rodriguez realized she was facing an extraordinary situation. Here was someone who had been invisible to the military establishment for decades, yet possessed knowledge and instincts that rivaled those of professional snipers. The possibility that Maria might actually succeed where others feared to try began to seem less impossible. The conversation ended with Captain Rodriguez promising to consider Maria's offer seriously. She warned that even attempting to arrange such an opportunity would be extremely difficult, given military protocols and the resistance she would face from Colonel Harrison and other officers. As Maria returned to her cleaning duties that afternoon, she felt a mixture of hope and terror. She had revealed her secret after keeping it hidden for 20 years. Whether this would lead to an opportunity or simply result in her dismissal remained to be seen. The facility buzzed with continued preparations for the demonstration, but now Maria moved through the halls with a different sense of purpose. She was no longer just the invisible cleaning woman. She was someone who might soon face the most challenging shot of her life, with the facility's reputation hanging in the balance. Captain Rodriguez spent the entire evening reviewing her conversation with Maria. She pulled Miguel Santos's service records and was shocked to discover his exceptional performance ratings and commendations. The files revealed that Miguel had been one of the most naturally gifted snipers the military had ever seen, with an almost supernatural ability to make impossible shots under extreme conditions. The next morning, Captain Rodriguez requested a private meeting with Colonel Harrison. She entered his office knowing that what she was about to propose would sound completely absurd. The colonel looked up from his paperwork, stress evident on his face as he struggled with the looming demonstration crisis. Captain Rodriguez began carefully, explaining that she might have found a solution to their sniper shortage. She described Maria's technical knowledge and her family connection to exceptional marksmanship. Colonel Harrison's expression shifted from interest to disbelief as he realized what was being suggested. The colonel's initial response was explosive. He stood up from his desk, his face reddening as he questioned Captain Rodriguez's judgment. The idea of allowing a cleaning woman to represent their elite facility in front of international observers seemed not just inappropriate but potentially disastrous for his career. Captain Rodriguez remained calm, presenting the mathematical evidence of Maria's knowledge. She showed the colonel notes from their conversation, demonstrating that Maria understood ballistic concepts that even some of their trained marksmen struggled with. The captain argued that desperate times called for unconventional solutions. Colonel Harrison paced his office, weighing the impossible choice between canceling the demonstration and taking an unprecedented risk. The political pressure from his superiors was enormous, and failure would likely end his military career. Yet the alternative seemed equally dangerous. Meanwhile, Maria continued her cleaning duties while anxiety ate at her stomach. She had not heard anything from Captain Rodriguez since their conversation, and she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake by revealing her knowledge. The other staff members noticed her distraction but attributed it to personal problems. The facility's training range buzzed with activity as soldiers prepared backup plans for the demonstration. Maria watched through windows as marksmen practiced at various distances, their confidence visibly shaking when they looked toward the 4,000-meter target. Even the facility's most experienced snipers seemed intimidated by the challenge. Lieutenant Jackson, the soldier who had been bragging about his 500-meter performance, attempted a 3,000-meter shot during practice. His bullet missed the target completely, disappearing into the hillside beyond. The failure sent ripples of doubt through the entire sniper program as other soldiers questioned their own abilities. During lunch, Maria sat in her usual corner of the staff room, but today she was joined unexpectedly by Captain Rodriguez. The captain spoke in low tones, explaining that she had presented Maria's case to Colonel Harrison and that a decision would be made within hours. Captain Rodriguez revealed the enormous resistance she faced from the military hierarchy. Officers questioned everything from protocol violations to insurance liability. The idea of an untrained civilian attempting the facility's most challenging shot during an international demonstration seemed to violate every principle of military procedure. However, the captain also mentioned that Colonel Harrison was running out of alternatives. 2 more soldiers had withdrawn from consideration for the 4,000-meter shot after witnessing Lieutenant Jackson's failure. The psychological pressure of the challenge was proving as difficult as the technical requirements. The conversation was interrupted when Sergeant Thompson approached their table. He had overheard enough to understand that something unusual was being discussed, and his curiosity was evident. Captain Rodriguez quickly changed the subject, but Maria could see suspicion growing in the sergeant's eyes. That afternoon brought a development that changed everything. A message arrived from headquarters announcing that the international delegation included General Patricia Williams, the renowned military marksmanship expert who had set several long-range shooting records. Her presence would make the demonstration even more significant and the pressure even greater. Colonel Harrison called an emergency meeting with all available marksmen. Maria watched from the hallway as soldiers filed into the briefing room, their faces grim with the knowledge that someone would have to attempt the impossible shot. The colonel's voice carried through the closed door as he explained the critical importance of the upcoming demonstration. When the meeting ended, the soldiers emerged looking even more stressed than before. Maria overheard conversations revealing that no one had volunteered for the 4,000-meter challenge. The colonel had given them until the next morning to make a final decision, but the outcome seemed predetermined. Captain Rodriguez appeared at Maria's side as the soldiers dispersed. She explained that Colonel Harrison had reluctantly agreed to consider Maria's offer, but only if she could prove her abilities in a preliminary test. The captain had arranged for a private shooting session early the next morning, before the facility's regular activities began. Maria felt her hands tremble as she absorbed this information. After 20 years of hiding her knowledge and abilities, she would finally have the chance to prove herself. The weight of the opportunity was almost overwhelming, but she also felt a strange sense of relief that her secret would no longer burden her. That evening, Maria returned to her apartment and spent hours reviewing Miguel's journal. She studied his notes on extreme distance shooting, memorizing calculations for atmospheric pressure, temperature variations, and wind compensation. The mathematics became a meditation that helped calm her nerves. She also spent time examining Miguel's detailed drawings of shooting positions and breathing techniques. His journal emphasized the mental aspects of precision shooting, explaining how psychological pressure could destroy even perfect technical preparation. Maria realized that her years of working invisibly in high-pressure environments might actually be an advantage. The night was restless, as Maria's mind raced through scenarios and calculations. She imagined herself on the shooting range, feeling the weight of a precision rifle and adjusting for conditions she had only studied theoretically. The prospect excited and terrified her in equal measure. At 4 in the morning, Maria arrived at the facility to find Captain Rodriguez waiting with a key to the armory. The captain explained that they had perhaps an hour before other personnel arrived, giving them time for a discreet evaluation of Maria's actual shooting abilities. Captain Rodriguez led Maria to a secure room containing the facility's most advanced sniper rifles. She selected a precision weapon similar to what would be used for the 4,000-meter demonstration, explaining its features and adjustments. Maria's familiarity with the technical specifications impressed the captain once again. They moved to the shorter-range portion of the training area, where targets were set at 500, 1,000, and 1,500 meters. Captain Rodriguez wanted to evaluate Maria's fundamental shooting skills before considering anything more ambitious. She emphasized that theoretical knowledge meant nothing without practical accuracy. Maria's hands shook slightly as she settled into position with the rifle. 20 years had passed since she had held a serious precision weapon, and the familiar weight brought back memories of practicing with her grandfather and brother on the family farm. She forced herself to breathe slowly and focus on the mechanical aspects of the shot. The first target at 500 meters seemed impossibly small through the scope. Maria adjusted the rifle according to calculations she had memorized, accounting for the morning's light wind and the slight temperature variation. She controlled her breathing and squeezed the trigger with steady pressure. The bullet struck the center ring of the target with precision that surprised both Maria and Captain Rodriguez. The captain used binoculars to confirm the hit, then looked at Maria with new respect. This was not beginner's luck. The shot demonstrated genuine skill and understanding. They moved to the 1,000-meter target, where the technical challenges increased significantly. Maria took more time with her calculations, adjusting for the greater distance and the changing wind patterns as the sun began to rise. Her second shot again found the center of the target, proving that her first success was not accidental. Captain Rodriguez was now convinced that Maria possessed exceptional natural ability. The 1,500-meter target represented a distance that challenged even experienced military snipers, yet Maria approached it with the same methodical precision. Her third shot confirmed what the captain had begun to suspect. They were dealing with someone truly extraordinary. As they prepared to leave the range, Captain Rodriguez made a decision that would shock the entire facility. She told Maria to prepare for the international demonstration, explaining that she would personally recommend Maria for the 4,000-meter attempt. The captain's confidence in Maria's abilities had grown with each successful shot. However, their private session had not gone unnoticed. Sergeant Thompson had arrived early and observed the final portion of their shooting test from a distance. His discovery of the cleaning woman's remarkable accuracy would soon create new complications for everyone involved. The morning brought chaos as news of Maria's shooting demonstrations spread through the facility. Soldiers who had ignored her for 20 years suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about talent and capability. The social dynamics of the entire base shifted as word spread about the cleaning woman's impossible accuracy. Colonel Harrison called Maria to his office, where she faced the intense scrutiny of the military establishment. Officers peppered her with questions about her background, her training, and her motivations. The colonel's skepticism remained evident, even in the face of Captain Rodriguez's glowing report. The interview revealed the depth of Maria's knowledge as she answered complex technical questions with accuracy that impressed even the most experienced marksmen. Her understanding of advanced ballistics and environmental factors demonstrated years of serious study, not casual interest in shooting sports. However, the meeting also exposed the significant resistance Maria would face if she were given the opportunity to attempt the demonstration shot. Several officers expressed concern about protocol violations and the potential embarrassment if she failed in front of international observers. The debate continued through the morning as news of the situation reached higher levels of command. Maria found herself at the center of a military controversy that questioned traditional assumptions about training, experience, and capability. Her quiet years of invisible service had suddenly made her the most talked-about person on the base. Captain Rodriguez fought vigorously for Maria's inclusion in the demonstration, arguing that exceptional circumstances demanded exceptional solutions. She pointed out that no other marksman was willing to attempt the 4,000-meter shot, making Maria their only realistic option for completing the demonstration as planned. As the discussion intensified, Maria waited in a small conference room, her future hanging in the balance. 20 years of hidden knowledge and suppressed ambitions had led to this moment, where she would either be given the chance to prove herself or dismissed as an impossible dreamer. The facility buzzed with activity as preparations continued for the international demonstration. Soldiers went through their routines while secretly discussing the unprecedented situation developing around the cleaning woman who might represent their elite program in the most challenging shot ever attempted at their facility. The international delegation arrived in a convoy of black vehicles, their presence immediately elevating the tension throughout the facility. General Patricia Williams stepped out of the lead car, her reputation for marksmanship excellence preceding her like an invisible force field. Colonel Harrison greeted the visitors with nervous formality, knowing that his career depended on the success of the upcoming demonstration. Maria watched from a window as the distinguished guests toured the facility. Among them were military attachés from 12 nations, weapons manufacturers, and defense contractors interested in the latest sniper training techniques. The stakes could not have been higher for what was supposed to be a routine demonstration of military capability. In a final closed-door meeting, Colonel Harrison made his decision. Faced with no volunteers for the 4,000-meter shot and mounting pressure from his superiors, he authorized Maria's participation in the demonstration. However, his announcement came with strict conditions and warnings about the consequences of failure. Captain Rodriguez immediately began working with Maria on final preparations. They reviewed weather conditions, wind patterns, and equipment specifications for the advanced rifle that would be used. The captain's confidence in Maria helped counterbalance the obvious doubt and hostility from other officers. The news of Maria's inclusion spread through the facility like wildfire. Soldiers who had never spoken to her suddenly appeared wherever she worked, some offering encouragement, while others made no effort to hide their skepticism. The social experiment unfolding challenged every assumption about hierarchy and capability. Lieutenant Jackson, still smarting from his own failure at 3,000 meters, confronted Maria during her afternoon cleaning routine. He questioned her qualifications and suggested that her participation would embarrass the entire program. His hostility reflected the broader resistance Maria faced from the established military culture. However, not all reactions were negative. Several younger soldiers approached Maria with genuine curiosity about her background and knowledge. They asked technical questions about long-range shooting that revealed their own gaps in understanding, questions that Maria answered with patience and expertise. Sergeant Thompson, who had witnessed Maria's practice session, found himself in the unusual position of defending the cleaning woman to his peers. His first-hand observation of her shooting ability forced him to acknowledge that talent could emerge from unexpected places, challenging his own preconceptions about military excellence. That evening, Maria received an unexpected visitor at her apartment. Captain Rodriguez arrived with a gift, Miguel's old shooting jacket, which she had retrieved from military storage after discovering its existence in his service records. The jacket represented a connection to Maria's past and a symbol of the legacy she was preparing to honor. As Maria tried on the worn leather jacket, memories flooded back of her brother teaching her to shoot on their grandfather's farm. Miguel had always insisted that the best marksmen combined technical knowledge with intuitive understanding of their environment. He had seen something special in Maria's natural ability, even as a teenager. The captain spent the evening reviewing final calculations and contingency plans for the demonstration. She explained the sequence of events, the positioning of observers, and the exact conditions Maria would face. The 4,000-meter target represented not just a technical challenge, but a test of nerves under intense scrutiny. Sleep eluded Maria that night as she mentally rehearsed every aspect of the upcoming shot. She visualized the target, calculated wind compensation, and practiced breathing techniques that Miguel had taught her decades ago. The weight of 20 years of hidden dreams pressed down on her as the moment of truth approached. The demonstration day dawned with perfect weather conditions, clear skies, minimal wind, and excellent visibility. Maria arrived at the facility before sunrise to find Captain Rodriguez already preparing equipment and reviewing last-minute meteorological data. The captain's nervous energy revealed the enormous pressure both women were feeling. General Williams and the international delegation began their tour of the facility with obvious high expectations. Colonel Harrison guided them through displays of conventional shooting capabilities, saving the 4,000-meter challenge for the dramatic conclusion of the demonstration. His presentation emphasized the theoretical possibility of the shot while carefully managing expectations. As the morning progressed, Maria completed her regular cleaning duties while wearing her brother's jacket. The familiar weight of the leather provided comfort and connection to the family legacy that had brought her to this moment. Other staff members watched her with new respect and curiosity. The delegation reached the long-range shooting area by mid-morning, where elaborate preparations had been made for the 4,000-meter demonstration. Spotting scopes, communication equipment, and measurement devices created a technical environment worthy of the challenge being attempted. Colonel Harrison introduced Maria to the international observers with obvious reluctance, explaining her background and the unusual circumstances that had led to her participation. The delegation's reaction ranged from polite skepticism to genuine curiosity about this unprecedented situation. General Williams studied Maria with the sharp eyes of someone who had spent decades evaluating marksmen. Her questions were direct and technical, testing Maria's knowledge of advanced ballistics and environmental factors. Maria's confident responses began to shift the general's initial skepticism toward cautious interest. The shooting position had been prepared with scientific precision. Weather monitoring equipment provided real-time data on wind speed, direction, temperature, and atmospheric pressure. The target at 4,000 meters was barely visible even through high-powered spotting scopes, appearing as a tiny speck against the distant hillside. Captain Rodriguez made final adjustments to the precision rifle, checking every mechanical component and confirming zero calibration. The weapon represented the pinnacle of long-range shooting technology, But even the most advanced equipment could not compensate for human error at such extreme distances. Maria settled into the shooting position with deliberate calm, her movements watched by dozens of eyes through binoculars and spotting scopes. She began the methodical process of range calculation, accounting for the multiple environmental factors that would affect bullet trajectory over the extraordinary distance. The mathematical precision required was staggering. Atmospheric pressure, temperature gradients, wind speed variations at different altitudes, the Coriolis effect of Earth's rotation, and dozens of other variables had to be considered and calculated. Maria worked through the equations with the systematic approach Miguel had taught her years ago. General Williams observed Maria's preparation process with growing respect. The methodical approach and technical competence demonstrated that this was not a publicity stunt, but a serious attempt by someone who understood the complexity of extreme-range shooting. The general's initial skepticism began transforming into professional interest. As Maria made final adjustments to her scope, she felt the familiar calm that had always preceded her best shooting. The noise and pressure of the watching crowd faded into background awareness as she focused entirely on the technical requirements of the shot. This mental discipline, developed through years of invisible work, became her greatest asset. The wind conditions required constant monitoring and adjustment. Maria watched grass movement and atmospheric indicators through her scope, calculating the complex wind patterns that would affect her bullet during its multiple-second flight time. The precision required was beyond anything most marksmen ever attempted. Colonel Harrison announced the commencement of the 4,000-meter demonstration, his voice carrying across the range through amplified speakers. The international observers focused their attention on the tiny figure in the distant shooting position, many expecting to witness an ambitious failure rather than historical success. Maria controlled her breathing and settled into the final shooting position. Through her scope, the distant target appeared impossibly small and far away. She made microscopic adjustments to her aim, compensating for the environmental factors she had calculated. The moment demanded the perfect synthesis of technical knowledge and intuitive understanding. The silence on the range was absolute as Maria prepared to fire. 20 years of hidden knowledge and suppressed dreams focused into a single moment of ultimate challenge. She felt Miguel's presence guiding her calculations and her grandfather's wisdom steadying her nerves. The rifle discharged with a sharp crack that echoed across the range. The bullet began its long journey toward the distant target, carrying with it Maria's hopes and the facility's reputation. Through spotting scopes, observers tracked the bullet's flight path across the vast distance. The seconds stretched endlessly as everyone waited for impact confirmation. The bullet traveled for what seemed like an eternity before striking the target with precision that sent shockwaves through the watching crowd. Spotting scope operators confirmed what seemed impossible. Maria had achieved a perfect center hit on the 4,000-meter target. The international delegation erupted in amazement and applause. General Williams lowered her binoculars with a look of genuine astonishment, immediately requesting a detailed briefing on Maria's background and training methods. The successful shot had exceeded everyone's expectations and created new possibilities for long-range marksmanship programs. Colonel Harrison found himself surrounded by congratulatory visitors and requests for information about the facility's apparently revolutionary approach to identifying and developing shooting talent. His initial reluctance gave way to pride as he realized that Maria's success had elevated his program's reputation beyond anything he had imagined possible. Captain Rodriguez embraced Maria as the range erupted in celebration. 20 years of patient observation and secret study had culminated in a moment that would be remembered as one of the most remarkable demonstrations in military shooting history. The cleaning woman had become a legend. The aftermath of the successful shot brought immediate changes to Maria's life. Media representatives requested interviews, military officials wanted to understand her training methodology, and weapons manufacturers sought her consultation on equipment development. The Invisible Woman had become the most famous marksman in the world. However, Maria's response to sudden fame revealed the character that had sustained her through decades of patient service. She remained humble about her achievement, emphasizing her brother's influence and her grandfather's early training. She used her platform to advocate for recognizing talent wherever it might be found. General Williams offered Maria a position as a special consultant for advanced marksmanship programs, recognizing that her unique combination of theoretical knowledge and practical ability represented invaluable expertise. The offer provided Maria with the opportunity to transform her life completely while contributing to military training innovation. The facility implemented new programs for identifying and developing shooting talent among all personnel, regardless of their official roles. Maria's success had demonstrated that exceptional ability could be found in unexpected places, challenging traditional assumptions about military hierarchy and capability development. Years later, Maria continued working at the facility, but now as the director of the Advanced Marksmanship Research Program. Her office walls displayed not only her brother's photograph, but also pictures of the many students she had trained in the techniques that had been hidden for so long. The 4,000-meter shot had become a symbol of human potential realized through persistence, knowledge, and courage. Maria's story inspired countless individuals to pursue their dreams despite obstacles and skepticism from others. She had proven that true capability often exists in the most unexpected places, waiting for the right moment to emerge and transform everything.